Today we're going to talk about 10 life events that require a review of your estate plan. Let's jump right in and imagine that you are 25 years old and just married with a baby on the way. Now, you're smart and you visit with an estate planning attorney, like me, to put together an estate plan that protects you, your spouse, and your new baby. You get a nice shiny binder with everything in it, like this one up here, and you put it in a safe place where everyone that needs to know where it is, knows where it is, and knows how to access it. The plan gives everything to your spouse, but if your spouse dies first, then everything goes to little baby Sophia, and your plan specifically names little baby Sophia. Now let's imagine you're 35 years old and now have 2 children and a third one on the way. You and your spouse keep thinking about going back to that estate planning attorney, me, but have been putting it off for 10 years now. Now let's imagine you're 45 years old with 2 kids in college and you still have not updated that estate plan you did when you were 25. You and your spouse figure you have something in place from 20 years ago, so that should cover everything. Now, let's imagine you're 55 years old with 1 child in college. Remember little baby Sophia from when you were 25 years old? Well, she is now 30 years old and she has 2 children of her own, and she's also on her second marriage. Do you see where I'm going with all of this? In this example, there were significant changes in your life when we checked in every 10 years. The reality is life changes much more quickly than in decade increments. Now, I have told you this in other videos. If you're an estate planning client of mine, then I want to meet with you at least annually to discuss any changes in your life that might require a change in your estate plan. But the reality is that most people don't feel like they have the time, and that is unfortunate because life comes at us so quickly these days. Your estate plan should be a snapshot of where you are in your life at any given moment. Going back to our example, imagine you were 25, 35, 45, and 55. Do you really think that the plan you created when you were 25 will cover you and your family when you're 55 years old? Think of all the variables. You now have 3 children and 2 grandchildren. You specifically named little Sophia as a beneficiary, leaving your other 2 children out. While they might be able to make an argument in court, do you really want them battling it out and spending your estate assets on legal fees? What if the other 2 kids were unsuccessful in court and one of Sophia's husbands got all of your assets? Guys, I could keep coming up with scenarios all day long, and this video would be really, really long. The reality is that we don't know what is going to happen, and we just need to plan the best we can. In a video a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned that we recently probated an estate with a will from the early 1980s. Almost everyone mentioned in that last will was dead or they were missing. This person had 3 kids, and thankfully they were all mentioned in the last will. However, one of them had passed away and her husband stood to inherit her share. The family had not been on good terms with this daughter's husband, and they in fact had not even had contact with him in the years since their daughter's death. Yet, he stood to inherit her share because our client had not updated the last will since the early 1980s. Estate plans must be updated on a regular basis to reflect changes in your life so they can do what you want them to do. Let's look at 10 life events that should be an automatic review of your estate plan. First, the birth. Just like an example that we started out with, by 55 years old, you had 3 kids and 2 grandchildren. So every time there's a birth in the family, you need to re-examine your estate plan to provide for or not provide for the new family member. This could also include funding a 529 college plan or something as simple as a bank account or life insurance policy for this new child. 2, adoption. Just like the birth of a biological child, if you adopt or one of your kids adopts a child, then you will want to visit your estate plan and decide how this new addition fits in. Just don't assume they are covered under your plan. We have some folks that ask us to add language that specifically disinherits adopted children. If your estate plan has similar language and you have a change of heart, then that change must be reflected in your estate plan. Third, marriage. Anytime someone in your family gets married, you need to review how that affects your estate plan, especially if we're talking about blended families. You can watch our video on blended families up here. Fourth, divorce. Just like marriage, if you or one of your kids gets a divorce, do you need to rewrite your estate plan? Just like in the example above with little Sophia getting married 3 times. Do you really want her next husband to have your stuff? Something to think about, right? 5, death. Just like in our example above of the almost 40-year-old estate plan, the family had not been on good terms with his daughter's husband. And they, in fact, had not even had contact with him in the years since their daughter's death. Yet, he stood to inherit her share because our client had not updated the last will since the early 1980s. 6, addictions. Unfortunately, guys, we see this more often than I care to say. But if there's someone in your family with an addiction, then it is probably not safe for them to have their inheritance outright. You should re-examine your estate plan and possibly create a trust so that they still might have access to the money for treatment and well-being, but not to feed their addiction. 7, incapacity, disability, or health changes. If someone becomes incapacitated or disabled, whether it is an heir or a spouse or even you, then your estate plan must change to address that disability. Your estate plan must evolve to address health issues that come up. People come into our office all the time, right before a major surgery. And this is great that they're thinking ahead, but really, any change in your health status should require you to at least review your estate plan. 8, financial status changes. Just like in our example above, you are probably making a lot more money and have higher value assets when you are 55 compared to when you are only 25 years old. Unless you're a dot-com millionaire, this is generally how financial life works. So, the plan you had in place at 25 is not going to cover you at 65 years old. 9, tax changes. Due to the 2018 Tax Reform Act, there have been significant changes to estate tax laws where individuals now have an estate planning coupon from the IRS of over $11.1 million, and married couples have a combined IRS coupon of over $22 million. Now, while this only affects 0.05% of the United States, it is scheduled to sunset in 2025. No one knows what will happen in 2025, and as you know, it could all depend on who is president and who has control of Congress. So, anytime there is a change to the tax code, you need to examine how it affects your estate plan. 10, move to a new state. We like to write our estate plans so they will work wherever you end up. But the reality is that every state has different laws. If someone comes into our office with a plan from California, let's say, and they plan on living the remainder of their life in Oklahoma, then we always recommend restating their revocable trust or their last will with Oklahoma-specific language, just so they're covered. Remember that just like you meet with the doctor, dentist, CPA, or your financial advisor on a regular basis, you need to meet with your estate planning attorney, me, on a regular basis as well. Updating is the best way to make certain your estate plan will actually do what you want it to do. Well, that's all for today. If you got value from this video, then please hit the like button below and hit the subscribe button so that every time we update with a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. And as always, have an awesome week. We'll see you next time.